Lines of evidence, showing that the New Testament authors told the truth. Section 1. Undesigned coincidences. Dr. Frank Turek's book Stealing from God has brought renewed attention to remarkable research originally discovered by Cambridge professor J.J. Blunt and William Paley in the 1800s. Blunt identified over 60 undesigned coincidences in the New Testament, details that unintentionally interlock across different biblical authors, reinforcing the credibility of the eyewitness testimony. These occur when one biblical author provides a puzzling piece of information, and another biblical writer or historian unknowingly fills in the gap. Such coincidences would be impossible to fabricate in a fraudulent text. Examples of undesigned coincidences. 1. Philip's connection to Bethsaida, John 6:5-7, Luke 9:10, John 1:44, 12:21. Before miraculously feeding 5,000 people, Jesus asked his disciple Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" John 6:5. But why Philip? John does not explain. However, Luke 9:10 tells us this miracle took place in Bethsaida, and in other passages, John 1:44, 12:21, we learn that Philip was from Bethsaida, meaning he would have known the area well. 2. What mighty works in Bethsaida? Matthew 11:21, Luke 9:10. In Matthew 11:21, Jesus declares, "Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago." However, Matthew does not mention what mighty works were performed in Bethsaida. The missing piece is found in Luke 9:10, which tells us this was the location of the feeding of the 5,000. 3. Why was Joseph afraid of Archelaus? Matthew 2:22-23, Josephus' Antiquities. In Matthew 2:22-23, Joseph, the earthly father of Jesus, is warned in a dream to return to Israel after fleeing to Egypt. However, when he hears that Archelaus is ruling in place of Herod, he becomes afraid and relocates to Nazareth instead. But why was Archelaus so frightening? The Bible does not explain, but Jewish historian Josephus provides the missing context. He records that in 4 B.C., Archelaus brutally crushed a disturbance at the temple, slaughtering 3,000 Jews and canceling Passover, a horrifying event that would have made Joseph's fears entirely justified. For more, read Hidden in Plain View, Undesigned Coincidences in the Gospels and Acts by Lydia McGrew. Section 2. Prophecy and how it proves the Bible is trustworthy. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls provided one of the most significant confirmations of the reliability of the Old Testament. Among these ancient manuscripts, a complete copy of the book of Isaiah, dating to approximately 200 years before the life of Jesus, was found. This is particularly remarkable because Isaiah contains numerous prophecies about the coming Messiah, none more powerful than Isaiah 53. When skeptics read this passage without prior context, they almost universally identify the figure as Jesus. Yet this chapter was written nearly 700 years before his birth. Even more astonishing, Isaiah 53 describes Jesus' death by crucifixion, a form of execution that would not even exist for centuries. Psalm 22, verses 6-18, similarly, foreshadows crucifixion in vivid detail. The prophetic nature of this passage is so compelling that many Jewish synagogues, which deny Jesus as the Messiah, skip this chapter when reading through the scriptures. Search for the forbidden chapter, Isaiah 53, in the Hebrew Bible on YouTube. The Old Testament contains numerous messianic prophecies fulfilled by Jesus, including born of a virgin, Isaiah 7:14, born in Bethlehem, Micah 5:2, from the line of David, Isaiah 11:1, teaching in parables, Psalm 78, verse 2. Performing miracles, Isaiah 35, verse 5-6. Dying by crucifixion, Psalm 22, Isaiah 53, Zechariah 12:10. Rising from the dead, Psalm 16:10. Predicted by Jesus as well in John 2:18-22, Matthew 12:39-40. Beyond messianic prophecy, the Old Testament accurately predicted the rise and fall of nations and historical events centuries in advance. One striking example is found in Isaiah 45, 1-6, where God names Cyrus the Great as the ruler who would restore Israel 150 years before his birth. Cyrus reigned over Persia from 539 to 530 BC and famously issued the decree allowing the Jews to return to their homeland after their prophesied 70-year captivity. Another extraordinary prophecy concerns the destruction of Tyre, recorded in Ezekiel 26. The prophecy states that the city would be devastated by multiple nations, first by Babylon, and later its ruins would be scraped and thrown into the sea. The first part was fulfilled under Nebuchadnezzar, but the second seemed incomplete, until Alexander the Great, nearly 240 years later, used the rubble of Tyre's mainland city to construct a causeway to its island fortress, fulfilling the prophecy in precise detail. The accuracy of these prophecies, along with the historical confirmations provided by archaeology, underscores the supernatural nature of the biblical text. The Old Testament is not merely an ancient religious document, but it is also a verified historical record filled with fulfilled prophecy, demonstrating the Bible's divine inspiration. Listen to Isaiah 53 for yourself. Who has believed what he has heard from us, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he grew up before him like a young plant and like a root out of dry ground. He had no form or majesty that we should look at him, and no beauty that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And as one from whom men hide their faces, he was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he has borne our grief and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace, and with his wounds we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth, like a lamb that is led to the slaughter, and like a sheep that before its shearers is silent. So he opened not his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away. And as for his generation, who considered that he was cut off out of the land of the living, stricken for the transgression of my people? And they made his grave with the wicked and with a rich man in his death, although he had done no violence, and there was no deceit in his mouth. Yet it was the will of the Lord to crush him. He has put him to grief. When his soul makes an offering for guilt, he shall see his offspring. He shall prolong his days. The will of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. Out of the anguish of his soul he shall see and be satisfied. By his knowledge shall the righteous one, my servant, make many to be accounted righteous, and he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore I will divide him a portion with the many, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his soul to death, and was numbered with the transgressors. Yet he bore the sin of many, and makes intercession for the transgressors. ESV.